This is about black walnuts, processing black walnuts. We planted 2,500 black walnut trees back in around 1975 and 76, and probably 10% of them survived. It's now 2011, fall of 2011, and we're starting to get, well, we've been getting nuts for a while, but this is our first time to actually try and process a bunch. So these 3 frames that you see here under this door screen are actually sifters for cleaning out wood chips. They're 3 different size screens, but anyway, I decided to put my walnuts on there to let them start to dry. This is before I read and watched videos about them, and it turns out that really the best time to do the husking is when they're still mostly green. So you'll notice that one of these screens is pretty empty, and that's because I just husked all the nuts from it, except about 10 that were I judged too hard from one thing I read, because you can't really poke a fingernail in them. So I'm going to let them sit there a little while. Anyway, roughly there seems to be about 175 to 190 walnuts that fit on one of these frames. So we'll go over by the picnic table where I just husked 175 of them. This is my husking center. The orange Fleet Farm refinishing gloves are what I use to keep my fingers from getting all goopy, and they lasted just fine through my first 175 nuts. Right where the gloves are sitting is where I put one of those frames you saw in the last scene, and from 175 nuts you see on the left, that's the amount of hulls. These are, I think, 3-gallon pails. And so I pushed down on that once or twice to get them all to fit, but in this case it was about 175 nuts. Now I poured about 2 or 3 inches of water in here, and then threw the nuts in there, and so they've still got to be cleaned. But anyway, that's how much one whole frame from the other picture turned out to be. Well, this is the result of 4 3-gallon pails full of walnuts with husks on. I husked them all today. I think it's what, the 5th of October, and it took somewhat over a half an hour per pail to husk them. Again, it was 4 3-gallon pails pretty much full, and this is what's left. Those frames are about 2 by 3 feet, and the nuts are roughly 1 thick. I think there's a little over 500 nuts there. I don't know if there's much more to say. They are husked. I have rinsed them in hot water 3, 4, 5 times, some of them, and stirred the heck out of them to agitate them well and knock off all the little bits of husk, or most of them. And now they'll dry here for a day or 2 with that screen on top of them to keep the animals out, and then they will go into the basement. What I read about them talks about putting them in onion sacks and hanging them for 4 weeks to cure, and instead I think I'm going to leave them right on those 2 frames, take them right into the basement and put that screen again over them in the basement, sitting on some sawhorses or something, so that they have air circulation. They talk about something that's cool and with a moderate amount of humidity, and the relative humidity down there, at least until it gets really cold winter, will be in the 50-55% area. So that's the program so far. Okay, this is my setup for drying walnuts after they have been husked. A couple of the sites that I read about for processing walnuts says that after you husk them and soak them in warm or hot water to get all the remainders of the husk off, you've kind of got them wet and maybe some of the water is inside, so they recommend heating them at about 110 degrees for a couple of days so that they are very dry inside during the 4-week curing process that is to come. So this is my setup this one guy who seemed to have a pretty good handle on things said he had a home kitchen oven that had a pilot light in it, so that would keep the nuts at about 110 degrees, and he thought that's what the right number was. So I didn't have one of those, and so all I've done is to take my walnuts and leave them on the frames that I had them on shortly after I husked them out in the sun to sort of begin the drying. So now what I have is 2 frames stacked one on top of the other here, 1, 2, and a couple of big lights under there, and then these shop coats and stuff as an insulation. And I just turned this on. I didn't want to leave it on overnight because I was afraid of hurting something. So I have a thermometer in here, and I don't know if you can read it or not, but it's just been on for a little over an hour, and the temperature is back up to 96 degrees, and so that's working out well. So I guess I'll leave these nuts in here for the equivalent of about 48 hours, and then I'll just take these frames downstairs in the basement, cover them, and cure for 4 weeks. Of course, as soon as this video is over, I'll cover the frames back up again so that the temperature will stay up.